Okay, welcome back everyone. So today just a really quick video on how to study. It's something that I've discussed with a number of teachers and students who feel a bit lost and don't really know what they should be doing and how to study. And despite the fact that we expect students to be well prepared for tests, oftentimes it seems like for many students they're not really taught on how to succeed, how to review their material. So hopefully in today's video we can cover that a little bit and beyond that as well. So we see the subheading there, how to succeed in and out of school. So first of all, let's just break down, why should you study? So a lot of people think studying is something that's done just in and for school. Although most of your time studying will be spent on school subjects, you should focus your study on areas of life beyond school as well, right? Don't get caught into this idea that, well, studying is only done for tests and for essays and for school assignments. There's going to be many problems in life that you simply don't know how to deal with, and you will have to study that area of life to actually see some improvements there, right? So that could be, finances, career, relationships, social skills, could be fitness, health, wellness, whatever it is. All these areas of life are going to require you to study, which basically just means learn, to better yourself, to improve. Let's say you pick up a sport. So myself, I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and often they say if you want to get really good, you have to study the game, which basically just means you have to learn as much as you can and to learn from the best and then to practice. So studying can allow you to gain knowledge, develop your ability to think critically, help you better prepare for your future, and helps you to live the life that you desire, right? So how it helps you to think critically is that essentially what's happening is when you do study, hopefully you study 10 mentors in a particular area. And what that allows you to do is, once you start actually practicing some of what they say, it allows you to better understand what does and what doesn't work, right? So you're able to think critically about information because of what you've learned and what you've experienced, right? And so you can better know what's happening in your environment. Help you to better prepare for your future by, let's say you want to study finances. So you're thinking to yourself, well, I don't want to work my whole life. I don't want to have to, I want to be able to take vacations. It helps you to better prepare for your future for whatever lifestyle you want. So one of my goals for myself is to be in excellent physical shape. And so I got to learn about diet. I got to learn about wellness. I got to learn about routines. And then I actually have to go and do that stuff. And so that I can guarantee, well, obviously you can't guarantee, but I can hope that my future is better because of that preparation, because of that studying and learning. Last but not least, studying is not just reviewing notes and memorizing. Studying is reading, it's listening, it's trying new things, it's experimenting, it's self-reflecting, right? Like going back as well as studying, and it's readjusting. So, in life, it's not necessarily just about moving forward. Sometimes you have to take a step back, right? Sometimes you will fall back. So for myself, I when I was 20, 21, I had moved out. I was first living in Montreal for a summer. I spent 4 months there. I came back to Edmonton to continue my education at the University of Alberta. I moved out, spent a year living on my own. The following summer, I worked for a bit. I earned enough money, saved up enough money to go and travel the world. And for 4.5 months, I was traveling abroad, backpacking, staying in hostels, doing some volunteer work. And, I came back knowing that I'd be broke and that I'd have to live with my parents again, and that, I might have to stay there for 2 or 3 years, right? Finishing my degree and then starting my career. And, when you progress through life, sometimes you're going to have to pull back and take a step back because, you don't really know. Like, hey, I'm climbing this ladder. Is this the ladder I want to be climbing on? Maybe you realize, no, it isn't. So you got to start over and climb a new ladder. And, people will tell you that don't do that. Like, keep climbing this ladder. But personally, I think that information is wrong, right? Like, you got to find the ladder and the lifestyle that works for you, right? So that's why we self-reflect, and then we readjust, and then we continue to study and to learn. So, some mechanical tips for studying. The first one that doesn't get talked about often enough is environment. So having a regular study space can train your brain to get into study mode, right? So For some people, their bedroom works best. Some people a desk, some people a cafe, a library. Maybe when it's warm out, you want to study just in the backyard in the sunlight. Find a regular place, maybe 2 or 3 spots that you like to go to get work done. Additionally, in the environment, you want to remove distractions, right? That ensures that you won't be disrupted while studying. So this could be any sort of device, right? So if you're studying, just rereading notes that you got in class, maybe you want to put not maybe, you definitely want to put your cell phone, maybe even the laptop, tablet, whatever device you have, like put it into a closet, put it out of sight, out of mind. Give yourself like 5 minutes to mentally prepare, right? Do a little quick breathing practice. Mentally and emotionally prepare yourself once you've cleared your environment of distractions. And so the reason we do that is so it just limits just your ability to focus and dial in. You're not being taken away from that. And so you're studying, let's say you study for 30 minutes, is a lot more effective because there was 30 minutes of distraction-free studying. Tip number 2, set a study schedule. So there's 2 aspects to this. So first, just set a specific time to study and stick to it, right? Like maybe it's 1 hour a day, just stick to it. Maybe it's from 7 o'clock to 8 o'clock after practice, particular time before bed, in the morning, whatever works best for you. And experiment with that too. Maybe you learn and review better in the morning. Maybe you learn and review better in the evening, right before bed. Maybe it's sometime during the day. Maybe it's right after you're done your class. Go in, experiment, see what works best for you. Propose a solution to yourself. Try it for a week, 2 weeks. Try for a month, really. Potentially 3 to 6 months as well, depending on what you're studying for. Obviously, if you got a university class, like you don't have 6 months to really experiment with the style that's not working. But again, we want to remember the longevity of our lives, right? This studying and learning isn't just about school, it's about your personal life as well and getting better. So 2 aspects. So having a set amount of time ensures that you get to study and, more importantly, have time for whatever else you want to do. So some people will say, I'll study like 3 hours today and I'll do that every day and I'll get good grades. But the thing is, if you haven't already built a habit of studying for 3 hours and if you haven't built it up, what's going to happen is maybe you study for 3 hours on the first day. What's more likely to happen to most people is they keep their phone with them, they have music in. You're not really studying, you're just pretending to study. So set a smaller amount of time to study rather than a larger time, especially if you're just learning this skill, learning this habit of studying and reviewing. Start slow, start small. Second tip on that note is pick a study strategy. So this is something I didn't really learn until my 3rd year of university. And I always thought studying was you sit down from one time and you study until another time, right? And it took me a long time to realize that doesn't work for me. Particularly, I wasn't setting up my environment right, and I was in a place that was kind of crowded, and being extroverted, I was always looking around. But the thing is, my ability to focus on notes, on school material was very limited, and quite frankly, I didn't really enjoy it. So what I found later on was experimenting with, so let's say I want to study for an hour, I would study for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, study for 25 minutes, take a 5-minute break, and that's it. Okay? And I would even use a stopwatch while doing this, right? So to keep myself accountable and to make sure that I'm honoring the other parts of me that want to utilize time in the day. It's not just about studying, it's about, hey, like I want to go to jiu-jitsu, I want to go work out, I want to, just watch YouTube videos for an hour or 2 at night. Whatever it is, right? You got to give yourself that time. So figure out what works for you. I even tried 5 minutes on, 5 minutes off, right? And I did that for an hour. I tried 15 minutes and 15 minutes on, 5 minutes off, 30 minutes, 10-minute break, right? Experiment with this study schedule. Like what will get you to focus on your material, taking a break, and then focus on your material again, right? So you got to find something that works, that is successful for you. Mechanical tip number 3 is picking a subject. So having a focus for your study time can help keep you on track. So picking a particular subject or area can help you to increase your knowledge and capacity in that area. So maybe it's like, so for myself actually, 2023, one of the goals I have is to read 5 books on leadership. And so I'm kind of perusing through my 3rd/4th one, which for the time being is Principle-Centered Leadership by Stephen Covey. But I am currently studying and learning more about leadership. So that's a subject I want to improve on. And for me, it's like, okay, let's go and find as many mentors as I can, see whatever material I can get and read and piece through it so I learn and absorb more from this subject. For you, in, let's say, high school, university, you might have several classes. And so setting yourself a schedule, like, okay, 30 minutes for this class, 30 minutes for that class, 30 minutes for that class, hour and a half a day. The next day I'll, cycle through them all again. And you might think, well, Mr. Quadra, whatever you want to call me, I guess it's my YouTube account. You might say, hey, if I only study for an hour a day, I won't get good grades. Well, studying for an hour, a focused 1 hour a day is better than no studying at all, right? Which is essentially the strategy I had, which was no studying until 2 or 3 days before the exam, where I just reread my notes over and over and over again. Okay, so pick a subject, pick a good environment, set a study schedule, which then moves us on to 3 practical study tips. So the first one, this one worked really well for me. This one works quite well for a lot of people. Just read and review. So this one might work really well for as soon as you're done a class. So reread your notes, classroom material, go through it again, process it at your own speed. Go figure out what words you don't understand, the sentences that don't make sense, right? You can do that right after your class. You can also do that, the days leading up to the test. You're just reviewing this information and getting it back into your mind. That worked really well for me. It may not work for you. But on that note, consider it this way. Just a little bit of reading every day will produce a lot of results. If you read, so my friend here, his reading advice is, you read 1 chapter a day. Well, this book only has about 15, 16, this has 30 chapters, but if I read 1 chapter a day in 30 days, I've read this book, right? Which is better than saying I'll read for an hour a day. Maybe you read for an hour the first day, maybe the second day, third day, you're like, screw that, I don't want to read for an hour. So figure out a small enough period that works for you that you'll do consistently, because consistency is going to be the biggest thing that helps you. Second practical study tip is listen. Okay, so if you're trying to study things for life and not school, but you can also do this for school, find a podcast, find an audiobook, find some interviews online, a course material online, whatever it is, like somebody selling a course, some sort of digital material that you can listen to, especially with the kids younger nowadays that are very distracted by, let's say, TikTok, social media, whatever it is. Every once in a while, just listening to something for an hour as you commute to school, to work, whatever it is, can allow you to add in more information. So one of the books that I read on leadership, I actually listened to, and I fell asleep during it, but I got some parts and got other parts. But the thing is, you can keep going back and listening and loop through, right? And maybe you learn better by listening to a discussion, by listening to dialogue, right? Maybe you learn better by reading and reviewing, whatever it is that works for you. Another third tip, very simple, especially for school, flashcards and cheat sheets. So writing down information, without looking at your study material, which is important, shows you clearly what you do and do not know, right? So let's say you just went through an hour-long lesson and your teacher asks you, okay, write down everything you learned from this, and you can't produce anything. Okay, so that's a problem. It's like, well, were you not listening? Did you not understand? What do you need to do to readjust to better understand? Maybe you need to ask questions. Maybe you need to understand the keywords. Maybe you're just like really far behind, and maybe you need one-on-one tutoring, right, to bring you up to level. But having a sheet of information where you just write down, like, okay, what did I actually gain from this chapter I read from this book, from this lesson I just got, from this course I just took? What are the key points? Particularly with digital material, you can always go back to it. So you just write down what you learned. Maybe you try a bunch of this stuff, and then 6 months later, like, hey, that course was really good. I tried it. I listened to it. I tried a bunch of things that I learned from it. I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna like listen to it again and see what else I can get. That's a real solid thing to do, because I do that with a lot of my books that I've read, mentors. And after like 6 months to a year, a couple of years go by, if you continuously studied, learned, grown, and experimented, all of this information is brand new again, because you're able to access different parts of it. Okay. Additionally, writing information down helps you to remember it as well. I think there's some really good science on that. Creating a document that you can look at again makes it easy to review, particularly in university, right? So they won't necessarily always give you notes packages, and you sure as hell won't have fill in the blank notes. Writing this stuff down can make it a bit easier for you to remember. Okay. So just wrapping up, last but not least, make a commitment to yourself to better yourself, to improve the areas of life that you're weak in. And I'm going to release another video shortly, soon enough, about why 80% is enough. But get yourself to a place where you're decently competent in every subject area so that you're better equipped to deal with the problems of life. Okay, but best of luck on a lifelong journey of learning and growing. Thank you. Have a good day.